everyone, Chief Rankings Officer Payton Soicher here on the Triple Option with Paul Catalina. We have our final 12 teams are in the college football playoff, but there is still a lot to discuss on what the reasoning was for a lot of their selections. We knew who were going to be the top ranked seeds. We had a good feeling of where everyone was going to be in the top of the rankings, but there were some surprising adjustments that were made that have a big implication on where each team was slotted in the rankings. You know, everyone loves to talk about the different seeds, but all of those seeds are determined by their original ranking spot. So let's take a dive on into rankingsrightnow.com and look at the seeds plus where the rankings are and how that compares to our machine learning algorithms that are trained on historical voting data from the playoff committee. So let's go ahead and dive on in. One of the biggest questions that I think everyone wanted to know was, is Alabama in or is SMU in? As we all saw on Sunday morning, that SMU took the last spot from Indiana. The playoff committee was in a really, really tough position when it came to this. Either you have to kick out SMU and essentially say that don't play your conference championship game because it could cost you a spot in the playoff, or do you say that Alabama is going to take, or you keep SMU in, and now Alabama has to be out, even though their strength of schedule were leaps and bounds more difficult, more top 25 wins, all these different types of things. So what they eventually did was they said, we are going to side with conference championship as the main predictor, as the main point that we want to emphasize that's more important to us. But that's a very interesting thing if you take a look at all of their top rankings. So most people didn't actually look at the rankings of the playoff committee and mostly just took a lot of time spending time looking at the seeds. Let's look at the rankings real quick. If we take a look at where all of the conference champions went, Army only went up 2 spots after winning their conference championship and going 11-1. According to the playoff committee, Syracuse, Illinois, Mizzou, and Iowa State, who lost their conference championship and really lost their conference championship, are all considered to be better. So not a lot of movement there. UNLV was took a little bit of a dive, but they were at 20. Now we go to Arizona State. Arizona State bumped up 3 spots. Not bad, but still not better than Alabama. Interesting. You have SMU, who lost the ACC championship to Clemson. They only dropped 2 spots. Texas only dropped 1 spot. Georgia moved up 3 spots. So the point I'm trying to make, and Boise State in the Mountain West, that they won their conference championship, they only moved up 1 spot in the rankings. And they only moved up 1 spot because SMU dropped 2. So what does that say to me? Especially if we look at the rankings right now, predictions that we had going into this, we had SMU dropping all the way down to 13. They only dropped to 10. We had Texas dropping down to 4. They only dropped to 3. Boise State, we had at 8. They only moved up to, let's just double check right here, up to 9. The playoff committee really didn't make it a big deal if you lost your conference championship across the board, but they didn't really make it that big of a deal if you won your conference championship. That's the takeaway that I come out of this, right? We had Army all the way up to 18, moving up 6 spots. Army only moved up 2 spots in the rankings. It's as if they were saying these conference championships aren't going to be a big predictor for us, which has been a difficult thing to try and understand in years past because everyone's been focused on those top 4 rankings and nothing else has really mattered. So I'm curious if the playoff committee even really cared after 13, 14, 15, and you kind of just leave teams in their appropriate rankings. If we look at the change in where the rankings right now algorithm had a prediction, let me just go ahead and actually zoom out and do it this way. If we look at the rankings right now predictions compared to the college football selection committee predictions, the biggest ones, right, were Notre Dame being at number 5. We had Notre Dame up at number 3. Why is that? Because Texas got to stay ahead, right? Here we look at another bad prediction, which was SMU. Well, the rankings right now had SMU dropping further. SMU did not drop that far. Army, another bad prediction right here. Here's Army right here. Army was 4 off. Iowa State was 2 off. All had to do with the playoff games that were being played or the conference championship games that were being played. All of the bad predictions had to do with that. Now, in years past, they haven't been that far off. This to me was sending a clear message that if we are going to do this with SMU, we are going to do this across the board. And that is the main driver for the playoff committee this year. Now, will that be the same in years in the future? Will that be the same in all of the different playoffs that we see moving forward in years to come? I don't know. But what I found super interesting is that even when you won your conference game, like at Boise State, they still don't get to move above Indiana. Are they doing that so that you can have an Indiana and Notre Dame playoff game? Potentially. That would make sense. I would understand that. But if you look at years past, there hasn't been that same movement. So, all super fun, all super excited. My work here is done. We have our final playoffs. We now get to enjoy the rest of the college football year. The rankings don't matter anymore. So it's been a blast. Thank you everyone who's participated in it. Thank you for anyone who's been involved in rankings right now. This has been the first year and we've had so much fun and we'll continue to do this moving forward. I am your Chief Rankings Officer, Payton Soicher, on the Triple Option with Paul Catalina.